Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. I'm Brent Peterson. I'm an American living in Portugal. I've been here in our city of Setúbal for about 3.5 years. A couple years ago, I did a budget video outlining how much it costs to live for us in Portugal. And I thought now would be a good time to revisit that and take a look at how those costs look currently. So I made my handy dandy budget, looked at all the everything we spent money on for the last 12 months, broke it down into some categories, and I'm going to share that with you now. So first things first though, there is going to be a range for this stuff. I'll give you what we spent, what our average spending is per month on each of these categories, but of course your results may vary. So, and I'll give you a reasonable range of what I think the cost should be. So this will all be in US dollars to make it simple for you. Of course, we're paying for everything in euros here. So the first expense that we have, and the biggest expense that we have, is rent. And for us, it's about $900 a month. And that is very low because we've been living in this place for 3 years now. And we got in at a very good price, and our rent only goes up a very small amount every year. So we have a really good deal. If you were to come to Portugal now, today, you would undoubtedly pay more than that, especially if you were in a city like Lisbon or Porto. And remember, this is for two people. For one person, it might be less. We have a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. The thing is, costs and rents have gone up quite a bit. So if you're in a place like Lisbon, you're probably not going to find a place for $900. You're going to pay more like $1,200, $1,500, even more than that. You could easily, if you want to start to get fancy, get into $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Same in Porto, maybe not as much as Lisbon. Lisbon is definitely the most expensive city in Portugal. We're in a medium-sized city by Portuguese standards, but prices have gone up. So $900 is what we pay. If you want to get in for less than that, you could move to a very rural place where you won't have nearly as many services or amenities and might be difficult to get to. We like it here because we can live without a car and everything is close by. So there you go. I would say if you're planning on coming to Portugal for a two-bedroom apartment, plan to spend more than $900, maybe closer to $1,200 might be a good price for you. Our second biggest expense on a monthly basis is for travel and transportation. And that's because I lumped a lot of stuff into this category. I could have broken it out further, but I don't want this video to go on forever into each tiny little category. So I put travel and transportation together. So that's $660 per month. But keep in mind, that includes not only our transportation here in Setúbal on a daily basis. We have a transportation card that costs about $44 a month, and that covers all our bus and train and everything, transportation. And also when we occasionally take like a Bolt, which is Uber here in Europe, that's a few dollars a month as well. But this also covers all of our travel expenses, plane tickets, hotels, and all that stuff. And that's a pretty big expense for us. So we're traveling quite a bit here, both within Portugal, within Europe, and then at least once a year back to the United States. And these are hefty, hefty expenses. It doesn't include our food, but it does include all of our hotel stays and all of our getting around when we're traveling. So, I think we're probably a little bit on the high side for this. You could probably do it for less if you were coming to live in Portugal, if you weren't going to travel around as much as we do, but that's how much it is for us, $660 a month. Yeah, I was a little surprised when I did the math too. So our next biggest expense is food, and I broke this down into two categories. So if you put them together, it's about $1,000 a month, but I broke it out into dining out and eating at home. So dining out was the larger portion of that, and that's $560 a month. And the reason that's so high is because that includes dining out when we're away. So if we're visiting a place, we tend to eat out quite a bit. We'll occasionally do home catered, where we'll cook in the apartment that we rent if we get an Airbnb or something like that. But for the most part, we're eating out, and we're eating out quite a bit. So that's where the lion's share of that comes from. There's also dining out when we're at home here in Setúbal. So there's some expense related to that as well. But a big share of that is when we're dining out when we're traveling. That's 560. Yeah, it's a lot. And then to go along with the food budget is what we pay for groceries. You know, going to the grocery store and all of the fruits and vegetables and staples and everything that we buy there. And that's $440 a month. And that's remained fairly stable since we got here. It's gone up a slight amount since we got to Portugal, but for the most part, there hasn't been the severe food inflation that there's been back in the States. There has been some. But it hasn't been as big as it has been in the United States. So $440 is what we're spending when we go to the Green Livramento market. And I made a video about going there and all the great stuff. We have one of the best markets in Portugal, if not all of Europe, right at our doorstep. And we shop there multiple times a week, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Also going to all the different grocery stores that we go to in our little town here. And those occasional times when we do self-catered when we're traveling. So $440 is what we spend on dining in food. Okay, spending all this money makes me want to take a little break. So I got this coffee that's been sitting here, and this little Essish cookie. This is a local cookie to our town, our region, really. And it's nice, dunked in a espresso or in a fortified wine. Our local fortified wine here is called Moscatel. Our next biggest expense is healthcare. Now, you might be aware that Portugal has universal health care for all residents and citizens, and we qualify for that, and we are registered in the healthcare system, the public healthcare system here in Portugal, which is free in the fact that you pay for it through your taxes, and we pay taxes here in Portugal. But the thing is, most people, North Americans, when they come here, and people who come from other countries like Germany and stuff, a lot of people sign up for the private system. A lot of Portuguese too sign up for the private healthcare system. And the reason is because in a lot of Europe, the public healthcare system is under a great strain. Even though the care is extraordinary, it's often difficult to get an appointment. When I first signed up for the healthcare system here in Portugal, you're supposed to be assigned a doctor, like a GP, a general practitioner. And I asked for mine, and they said, no, we don't have any. Basically, there aren't any available. I said, okay, well, I'm going to sign up for private healthcare anyway. So there have been rare occasions when we've used the public healthcare system, and it's very good. But, you know, if you're trying to get appointments, if you're doing non-critical care, it can be difficult to navigate. So we get private insurance. And my personal doctor, not personal, but my GP, speaks English. In fact, he loves America. He worked in New England for many years. Great doctor, and he refers me to specialists when I need them. You go to the hospital. It's a private hospital. It's not the public hospital. What does that cost? Well, that's about $220 a month, and it goes up every year. So we're about to get jacked up again. I don't know what the cost is going to be. But all in, we spend about $300 a month for two people, $300 a month on healthcare. So that includes the insurance, but that also includes like vitamins. That also includes co-pays when you go to visit a doctor, less than $20, but you pay a copay. If you have a prescription, for the medicine that you get, medication is generally very inexpensive here in Portugal. But, over time it adds up, so it's about $300 a month for our healthcare, and I have to say, I'm very pleased with the level of healthcare service here in Portugal. Got a mini pastel de nata. My favorite. Did a video on best pastel de natas in Lisbon, and you can watch that if you like. It was a fun video to make, trust me. Next on the list is utilities. So, when you rent an apartment, just like in the United States, generally utilities is not included. We pay about $220 a month in utilities. That includes electricity, gas, water, but also internet and cell phone usage. So that's everything all in for two people. In general, electricity cost per unit, utility cost per unit is generally a little bit higher in Europe and in Portugal, but we use less of it because our apartment does not have central heat, does not have air conditioning. So we use portable units in order to do that, and because of the nice weather here, we generally don't have to use it very often. So $220 is what we spend on utilities. All right, we're getting to the end of the list now. And one of the last things on it is entertainment. So entertainment's only $180 a month. And if that seems low to you, well, a lot of our entertainment goes into our travel budget and our dining out budget. That's a lot of what our entertainment is. So, things like travel, that's all included in that other bucket. But for entertainment, it's things like streaming services, movie tickets, museum tickets, concerts, things like that. So 180 is what we spend on that. And then our last item is miscellaneous. So miscellaneous comes in at $140 a month, and that's just a catch-all for everything else. Electronics, if I have to buy a new cell phone, for example, or even a cord to charge the cell phone, that would go into miscellaneous. If I have to buy batteries, that would go into miscellaneous. Clothing, because I don't spend a lot of money on clothing. Usually I'm buying sneakers a couple times a year because we do so much walking. But, clothing goes into miscellaneous because it's a relatively small expense. Printer ink, silly stuff like that. Gifts, when we go to visit people, we bring a gift with us, and that goes into miscellaneous as well. So that's just $140 a month. So there you go. All in, I think the total is $3,400 a month, and that's for two people here in Portugal. How does that compare to what you're spending wherever you live, whether it be in the United States, in Portugal, in Europe, or somewhere else? Let me know in the comments, and like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're thinking of coming to Portugal, I have a foodie travel guide to Portugal. 17 different cities and towns in Portugal, all the best things to eat, all the best things to drink in all kinds of places. Lisbon and Porto, of course, but places like Beja, which is a very untouristy town in Alentejo, or Braga up in the north, Viana do Castelo also up in the north. Sintra, a lot of people want to go to. I tell you all the cool things to do there, but I also tell you about what to eat there, because there's unique different treats and cool things to try in every city and town in Portugal. So you can check that out at buymeacoffee.com/destination eat drink. Hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it, although there was a lot of math involved. I'm Brent Peterson. See you down the road.